Welcome to our latest episode of Norfolk Community Forum. My name is Kevin Calcutt. I am the chair of the Select Board, and I am joined by my partner in crime, Town Administrator Justin Casanova Davis. This show was intended and initiated back during COVID to help bridge the gap of many of the operational items that were going on within town government and compacting them into a more consumable package so we could get across the high points on what's coming up next without necessarily having to go through the slog of watching hours and hours of town meetings. So we're happy to be able to get this back rolling again, especially during such a busy time of year. So Justin, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Glad to be back with you again, Kevin.
So first and foremost, there's been a lot going on in town over the course of the last few months, especially as we prepare for town meeting. We do have a couple of things we wanted to bring some attention to. The first one, Justin, was our federal funding for wastewater. We were able to get some federal funding.
Correct. The town in March, with the recent legislation that was passed, received about $960,000 for our town center sewer. This is important funds for allow us to look at expanding sewer in town center and bring some more opportunities for the town center. So we're very pleased with the advocacy of the Select Board and our representative, Congressman Auchincloss, as well as our team, DPW Planning Board, the Planning Director, to help us secure these important funds.
Absolutely. And the other thing we appreciate too is this isn't just a blind funding request. Jake and his team came down to Norfolk. They did a walkthrough with us in town center and highlighted the need for something like this to be able to encourage and be the gateway for additional growth in our town center. So we really do appreciate those efforts from both him and his team, as well as our internal team here at Town Hall.
Correct.
The next item was our appropriation of opioid funds. As part of a settlement with the state, each municipality was allocated a certain amount of money to be able to dedicate to the prevention and treatment of substance abuse. And we were finally able to get some of that money out, right?
Yes. So the town has received a little bit over $40,000. The town meeting allowed the Select Board to appropriate $20,000. In our recent Select Board meeting in April, the Select Board did do that. We allocated $20,000. $7,000 went to Gilly's house, $6,000 to the Safe Coalition, and $7,000 to the Norfolk Public Schools for a variety of important initiatives regarding opioid remediation, which includes community awareness training, community Narcan training, amongst a variety of other things, as well as a social worker at the Norfolk Public Schools.
Absolutely, and these are all great initiatives, and we thank each of these organizations, Gilly Safe and the Norfolk Public Schools, for their efforts in being able to curb the ongoing opioid crisis. That being said, there is another sum of money that we do have available that is at the discretion of town meeting that we'll be looking to disperse come fall, correct?
Correct. We're looking in the fall, so we will open applications again for that process and then look to allocate in the fall town meeting.
Perfect, thank you. Our next thing that we've been doing is our Select Board office hours. Now, one of the things we highlighted as part of our communication and engagement initiatives for this year was to be able to give individuals and residents in town an ability to interact and engage with a member of the board outside of our open meetings. So we scheduled a few of these sessions where we had an evening at Town Hall, we had a lunch over at the Senior Center, and we had a morning over at the library where people could come and just talk and chat with members of the Select Board. We are going to do one more of these meetings that we'll get to later on, but we did want to call out the fact that this is one of those initiatives that we're putting out there so that folks can feel more connected to government. Because as we always say, an informed and engaged community is the best community from operating perspectives. We also have our Town Hill newsletter as part of those initiatives, right, Justin?
Yes. Once again, emphasizing what Kevin has said about community engagement. This is the third iteration of our newsletter. It's on the town Facebook page as well as the town website. It's on the front page. It's got interactive links on there with a variety of things on the town newsletter. We talk about the master plan. We talk about housing choice and the hearing that occurred previously. We have town meeting articles on there. We have a sort of quick interview with one of the residents of our town on there. We're very proud of it. We want to hear feedback from the community as well. This was part of our community engagement initiative, and we want to continue to grow, and I think we've gotten good feedback so far, but we want to hear from residents if there's anything else they like to see on there differently. And you'll see on there a list of upcoming events on the newsletter as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite parts about this last one was actually the guide for individuals who are not accustomed to attending town meeting about what to expect, what to do once in there, some highlights about the operations of the meeting. I thought that was really helpful for individuals who may not have previously attended a town meeting. It makes it a little less intimidating.
Agreed.
If you're looking for something a little more comprehensive in terms of town reporting, our annual town report is also available, right, Justin?
Yes, it is. It's available online on the town clerk website. We have a limited amount of copies in the office as well, but it's also on our Facebook page as well. The annual report gives a sort of a flashback of the previous year. So it'll be 2023 annual report. You get a report from a variety of boards as well as all of our departments, including the select board, town administrator's office, town meeting results, and different things like that. So it's very comprehensive. We're very proud of it, and we really like the cover. We put a lot of work in trying to decide what the cover would be. It's a great annual report.
Beautiful artwork, absolutely. So one of the things that you can't miss if you drive through town is the progress that we've seen on our new fire station. As soon as those red garage doors came up, I think everybody started to say, oh, we're almost there. Yeah. How are we doing with the project?
We are almost there. Yeah. The project is going very well. We're over 60% complete at our last fire station building committee meeting. The project is on time. We're scheduled to have the new building complete in summer of 2024 and complete the project entirely, which means the demolition of the older building by the fall of 2024. So we're on time, we're on budget, and our fire station building committee still continues to meet the second Wednesday of every month. Please watch and join those meetings. They are available on NCTV as well. They're recorded as well, but we're proud of the work that's going on so far.
Absolutely. I think the community is very excited to see this project come to fruition, and we're all very excited for the firefighters to be able to have these new accommodations and ability to be able to serve the public as well as they always have. So fantastic news. So now we move into our budget development process. We've had a lot of discussions about the budget this year. A whole new slate of challenges presented themselves. Could you give us a quick update as to where we are in that process?
Yes. Throughout this year, starting in January, we started the budget process with our departments. Every single department head has met with the select board and given an overview of their departmental budgets. The advisory committee has taken up the budget and they voted in approval of the budget that we have. We have a balanced budget. We are utilizing some free cash to balance the budget. By the time residents have a chance to watch this video, we'll have a posted version of the budget online, so everyone can see that on our website and see that in advance of town meeting. But we've got a balanced budget. The last night, the board voted with the school committee to utilize special ed reserve fund to balance the budget as well for the Norfolk Public Schools, and providing update on the state budget. The House Ways and Means budget is being under consideration now, and so we are in the midst of budget development for fiscal year 25.
And Justin, I do know that the board expresses during the flurry of meetings that we've had related to the budget up until this point, but we truly do appreciate the efforts of you, Finance Director Todd Lindmark, and everybody at Town Hall for not only the transparency in coming and presenting on their budgets and identifying some of the key impact items, but also on bridging many of these operational concerns that we have and being able to deliver that balanced budget. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
I would love to say that the only item up at our town meeting is going to be the budget, but we do have a full slate of articles that we're going to be discussing. Do you have a quick intro for how we're going to be approaching this town meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. We have about 29 articles, and it's become customary now to have that amount of articles since I've been here. But for a good amount of these articles are sort of standard articles for this year. We have some collective bargaining and COLA adjustment articles, and then various budget articles. Typically, we do appropriate capital expenditures in the fall, but we do have one capital proposal that will be in consideration, a new ambulance of about $465,000 there. We have some various CPC articles. I would point out one that has engendered a lot of conversations, a pickleball court, so that's on the town meeting warrant. We have a capital stabilization fund for the King Philip schools, as well as some various housekeeping articles for DEP regulations. And then we also have a few zoning and planning board associated articles on the town meeting.
Yeah, and so we identified that they've been getting a lot of attention, especially statewide this year with the requirements for compliance with MBTA zoning guidelines that were put forward back in 2021. But we thought that who better to bring in to be able to talk to us about some of these than none other than our resident chairman of the planning board, Chad Peck. Chad, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Justin and Kevin. Appreciate being here today. Thank you for asking me. As Kevin mentioned, I am currently the chairman of the Norfolk Planning Board. Moved here in 2017 with my wife and two kids. Quickly became involved in the town. I started off coaching. I did that for many years for both my kids. Then I wanted to do more, so I got involved in the planning board. I was elected to my first term in 2019, and now I'm serving as the current chairman of the board. So I just love giving back to the community. That was the whole point of moving here. Love this town, and here today talk about the articles. We do have 2 articles on the warrant, and wanted to give a quick overview before we get to town meeting. So the first article is the use table. Probably need to take a step back. The use table was on the warrant at the last meeting, which was approved. We took something that was scattered uses throughout the bylaws and created one simple master table. We did that, that got approved, that was a huge lift. It was great. We then put that into use. We then found that there were still some discrepancies and room for improvement. So that's what we're back now for version 2. So we've streamlined a few of the zoning districts. We realized that we didn't elaborate enough on the C1 on and off highways, so we elaborated those. And we added a new use, one being food trucks. Food trucks weren't on the list. It was just ignored. So we're like, we should add that back in there. And then there was a few other discrepancies and some spelling errors and some language cleanup. So those were kind of the three reasons why we're coming back for version 2. So that's the one article. Then the other one is the MBTA zoning, which could also be called housing choice. So there's a requirement to complete this MBA zoning by the end of the year. So we worked really hard to understand what the requirement was, get that completed, and get it completed and hopefully approved prior to the end of the year. Failure to comply and complete this would result in lost opportunity on grant funds. So there is an incentive to get this done and get it done sooner than later. So one of the goals of our master plan, which is not yet completed, is to find funding opportunities that don't require the increase of tax revenues. That's why these grants are so important. The planning board worked really hard with a third-party consultant to understand and dissect the requirements and figure out the proper overlay districts that we have or that we can implement into the town to provide the least amount of impact. We've probably all heard out there and seen on the news about how this is horrible. You know, it is horrible. Some other towns are fighting it and such. We decided to let's embrace it, let's utilize it, and let's minimize the impact and control it ourselves. So we did that. So really, at the end of the day, there's 3 impacts. In the overlay district, the dwelling units are increased to 18 units. Multifamily will be by right as a standalone use, and the affordable housing will be at 10% instead of our normal affordable housing limits. Now, all the other things still comply. So Title V, wetland bylaws, parking, setback, height, all that still complies. It's just those 3 things change in the overlay district. That's it. So we tried to take something that was really complex and simplify it and minimize the impact for us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chad. So I remember back to our days when we were toiling over our town center B1 zoning discussions back in 2020, 2021.
Yes.
And you know, there was a lot of foresight given to rumblings we were hearing about these kind of regulations coming down the pike. Yeah. Can you talk briefly about how we prepared for these zoning requirements as part of that initial B1 discussion and as well as the sequential years thereafter?
Yeah, so we put in a lot of work. We hired a third-party consultant, and that Horsley and Witten. So that third-party consultant really did help us. So we worked with the town planner, the consultant, and the housing authority to accomplish this goal and get us ready for town meeting.
Awesome.
Great. And for those, Chad, for those who are engaged, the first iteration of the warrant included an article for an inclusionary zoning bylaw change. Can you just talk briefly about why we had proposed that, and also why is not on this version of the warrant that residents will see online?
Yeah, so that is an excellent question, and so as part of the MBTA zoning requirement, they have a 10% affordable housing limit in there. So that we took that and started looking at our inclusionary bylaw and looking at changing that so that all of Norfolk would comply with MBTA's housing. But then we backed off on that. We realized that was going to be too cumbersome to maneuver and put forward at the same time. And the urgent need was the MBTA zoning requirement. So we're like, look, let's just deal with this as one unit, push that off until a future town meeting. And it also, we got some really good feedback from the public hearing. We need to roll up our sleeves a little bit more, do some more research, get with the housing authority. They have some, and their production plan, and look at other ways to incentivize development in the town to provide a higher level of affordable housing than we even have in the requirements now.
Thank you.
Chad, one of the big things that is talked about these days is about the growth and how it impacts Norfolk and our vision for Norfolk. And I know that we're doing a lot of those discussions as it pertains to the master plan. And once we have a finalized master plan, that will help us with aligning on a vision looking forward. But speaking more specifically about these initiatives, how will this affect growth in Norfolk?
So I watched the select board meeting last night. School committee was there, and you're seeing that growth is coming. So we now see, and this MBTA zoning will target and direct that growth to the areas that we need, and it is in alignment. It will be in alignment with our master plan and also the growth that we're seeing from that analysis from the school committee.
Fantastic.
And Chad, you had mentioned, some people, when they hear on the news or see in the newspapers, there's some worry about housing choice. But I know we have been proactive in the town to be ahead of this. Can you just tell for our viewers, what does the planning board believe the benefits of the housing choice article will be for the town?
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit for us is, one is we're going to be in compliance before the deadline, so we don't miss out on the opportunity for grants. And two is this is going to encourage targeted growth at 2 overlay districts in the town that we want. So,
thank you.
Yeah, directing growth where it's most appropriate and expected and within the vision for the community is probably the biggest thing from my perspective as well. So great point.
Yep.
Well, Chad, thank you so much for coming and talking to us about these articles. I think it's going to be a fantastic conversation at town meeting. I look forward to an outcome and direction from the community. But is there anything you'd like to share with the viewers before we move on to our next section?
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for having me here today. I want to also say this was a group effort. I didn't do this alone. So I want to thank the planning board, Chris, Melissa, Eric, and Gary. Also want to thank our town planner, Rich, and our housing authority, Sue Jacobson. It was definitely a group effort. We also got great feedback from advisories, so I want to give kudos to there as well. That feedback really helped us fine-tune the final article.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you at town meeting.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you, Chad.
All right. So what's coming down the pike next for our community, Justin?
Well, we've got a great big slate of things coming down the pipeline. First, we're going to have our first annual 5K run to support autism awareness and programs. It's a collaboration with our Norfolk Fire and Police Department. There's a lot of different events going on along with that. Please check our website or our Facebook page to register and take a look at that event.
Fantastic. Also of note, we have our final Select Board office hours coming up. This is going to be on April 29th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. That is going to be at Town Hall, and that will be with me, actually. So if anybody has any additional questions about the budget, about some of the discussions going on at the Select Board level, or about town meeting, that would be an absolute ideal platform to be able to share those concerns and engage. So please come visit, come hang out with me. It'll be a good time. We also have our town election coming up, Justin, with a couple of contested races on the ballot. Early in-person voting for that election will start on Friday the 26th, and it will run through until Thursday the 2nd. Generally speaking, those availability hours will be 9 to 5, although once you get into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the end of the week, we do have some earlier and later hours available. So if you want to check and just validate, go to the town clerk's website, which I think Andrew will be able to put up on the graphic right below us. And then if you're looking to vote in person on Election Day, that is going to be on May 7th, Tuesday, May 7th. The polls will open at 7 a.m. and they'll be open until 8 p.m. So please make sure that you come in, fulfill that civic duty, and cast your ballot for the future of Norfolk.
And then moving forward, the planning board is going to have a community forum to discuss the MBTA zoning articles that we just talked about in more detail, allowing residents to hear directly from the planning board. That'll be May 9th. And then after that, the big shebang, annual town meeting, May 15th, 7 p.m. at the KP Middle School. We've always enjoyed seeing as many residents come out and do their civic duty as Kevin had mentioned. So annual town meeting, May 15th.
And then as we get into the later part of May, we come up to one of the most celebrated holidays here in Norfolk, our Memorial Day Parade and Ceremony over at the cemetery. If you'd like to join in the celebration and the remembrance, the commencement is at 8 a.m. We march down Main Street over to the cemetery. There'll be a presentation there before we march back up to Town Hill. There's a slight presentation there before we move over to the Federated Church for the ever-famous ice cream. So please, if you have the ability to join us on Memorial Day, we're hoping for some great weather, and it really is one of the best days to have the community all come out and get together to kick off the summer. Shortly thereafter, we're also going to have another mainstay of the Norfolk community. The Norfolk Farmers Market is going to kick off. That opens for its first day on June 5th. That'll be open from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Town Hill. And I do believe that occurs weekly thereafter for the remainder of the summer.
It does. I'm looking forward to it this year.
Yes, absolutely.
And then starting June 13th, on Thursdays, our 2024 Summer Concert Series commences. They'll be on Town Hill from 6:30 to 8 p.m. We have a list of the various performers and the times on the town website, as well in the town newsletter. So you can see that there.
And then our last one coming up is going to be the largest event for our community. It is the Lions Norfolk Community Day. That is on June 15th from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. over at the Holmes Bus Company on Myrtle Street. For those that are unaware, there is a flurry of booths, attractions, bouncy houses, food, contests. It really is probably the biggest draw event that we have for our community. And we've also built onto it with Norfolk Recreation doing a fireworks display that evening. Yep. So we're very excited for that event. We thank the Lions and the Holmes Bus Company for hosting, and we're very much looking forward to that big event. Mark it on your calendars, June 15th from 11 to 4 p.m. You think that was enough things to put in front of everybody for one show, Justin?
I think that's just enough.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We do hope that this has been informative. I do know that this is going to be my final show hosting with Justin. So, Justin, thank you so much for your partnership and everything you've done to help make this show successful. I am also aware that the incoming chair intends to perpetuate this show moving forward. So we look forward to you and the new chair delivering the same kind of service for the residents moving forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for your service. It's been a pleasure working with you. So
thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and we'll see you at the flurry of events coming up for our community.